We don't always start with the answer. We start with the question, and then you start moving forward and think you're going in one direction, but life will let you know if you need to make a little left turn. Hello, and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today, my friend, is going to be a great day. Today, I am so excited to be sharing with you a little bit about reflection and transformation. This time of the year is always such a good time if you give yourself permission to just have some open, honest, clarifying reflection of the year past. It's a practice that my business partner and I do every December, the last week of December. We sit down and we just reflect on the year, and we look at our goals for the business over the year and how we did or didn't hit those goals. We also revisit our values for the practice and, reassess, are those values still valid? Where do she and I land with our personal values, our personal beliefs, our personal goals? And does the practice still align with them? I love doing this. I love the practice of reflection. I think it's so critical. I've always incorporated it in my personal growth and development, and it's been an enormously impactful system of success in my business. I highly recommend it. As I was doing some of this work this week, preparing for my chat with my business partner, but also reflecting a little bit over the year for myself personally, I did a little deeper dive into reflection over the past decade for myself and for the business. And that's also valuable because we just get more information, more data points. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you today is this idea of transformation. As we look back and reflect over the year, there may be moments where you recognize, oh, either I did accomplish something or maybe I didn't. Maybe I've gone down a different path. And maybe I recognize transformation, or maybe I recognize the need for transformation. This can happen in little ways or in really big ways. Perhaps your life transformed enormously this year. Many of ours have over the past few years, especially with COVID. There have been enormous transformations, and some of them were imposed on us, but the more powerful ones are the ones where you actually had control over the transformation. You actually had some say over the transformation. Maybe control isn't the right word because we don't have control over anything, really, but maybe you had clear intention over the transformation and we're guiding it along the way. One of the things that many people ask me is, how did I transform my association with business, specifically in the dental world, in my orthodontic practice? I think I've shared with you so many times in this podcast how I have been an orthodontist since 2002. Oh my gosh, 20 years almost. Can you believe that? Can't even believe that myself. But I've been an orthodontist for almost 20 years and owned several orthodontic practices along the way. But my mindset in terms of what I do, in terms of my business, in terms of my purpose professionally and personally, has radically transformed, enormously so. I mean, as many of you know, there was a time where my business, my work, my orthodontic practice ran my life. It was so terrifying. I lost myself in the practice. I lost myself in the business. I lost myself in my goals for myself and for my family and for my business. I was miserable. It was very clear to me that I needed enormous transformation. And really, I've been so grateful and blessed to have seen that transformation. And I keep seeing it over and over again in my life, whether it comes in the form of business transformation or personal transformation or spiritual transformation, or relationship transformation, or even physical transformation. They're all possible. But none of them are possible without this idea of reflection and clear understanding of where we've come from in order for us to lay the goals of where we're going and create true, clear intentions. So I wanted to answer for you today on this podcast some questions that were asked of me recently in terms of this transformation, specifically as it comes to the business, and how I transformed my mindset from being one of fear and anxiety and overwhelm and lack to now this place of just enormous abundance and purpose and clarity over my vision for my work. I'm still an orthodontist. I'm still doing the same orthodontic work. I still own a practice, a private practice. It's still the same thing, but my mindset and my intention has enormously transformed. So this is what I was asked recently, is to just explain a little bit about that transformation process. And so I thought I would bring that to you today in this vein of reflection, not because this is the way you should do it, not by any stretch of the imagination, but just as inspiration that it's possible. That it's possible if you're sitting in a place right now, reflecting on 2021 and recognizing the need for transformation in your business or in your personal life. Please know that it is possible. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, it is possible. The first step just takes the reflection and the recognition of it, the need for it. And you don't have to be down on your knees in terror and fear the way I was. You don't have to be at the very bottom of despair to have transformation. All it needs is illumination. It just needs a moment of recognition. And then a setting of a clear intention. So I'd say the first most important point is clarity. Having a clear vision. And I think that's why it sometimes takes breaking down to understand the clarity. Because we don't always know what we want unless we see what we don't want. Isn't that true? Don't you have some evidence of that in your own life? Where you felt what it's like to see what you don't want, and then it became really clear what you do want. So I use the analogy of anchovies. Imagine you had never tasted anchovies before, and then you tasted it for the first time and you realized, oh, I don't like the taste of anchovies. You would never have known if you hadn't tasted it that you don't like it. And then you just say, oh yeah, I don't like anchovies. This is what it tastes like. I don't like it. Clarity becomes a little bit easier. I don't like anchovies, so I know what I do like. I do like sardines, or I do like swordfish, but I don't like anchovies. Do you see how it seems ridiculous when I talk about it in terms of food? And I love to use the analogy of food because we can all relate to food and an understanding of food. But it also simplifies it so much that it takes out the emotion that we have attached to it. So when you're in a profession and you are practicing, let's say you've been studying your whole life to be a dentist, and then you get into the profession, you realize, oh no, I don't like it. You can have clarity around it. Well, what is it that you don't like about it? You can ask yourself that question a little bit more specifically. So going back to the analogy of the anchovies, what is it about the anchovy? Is it the salty flavor of the anchovy? Do you not like something super salty? Well, there you go. There's your clarity. Doesn't make you love anchovies anymore, but it does help you recognize I don't like super salty. Or is it the texture? You know how anchovies have a little furriness to them? Oh, maybe if you're listening to this podcast, I just turned your stomach. But perhaps it's this texture, that furriness of anchovies that you don't like. clarity once again. It's okay to recognize what you don't like because it gives us clarity. And then when we have clarity, we can create a clear vision of what we do want. Okay, next time I know what I'm going to order, and it won't be anchovies, and it won't be salty. Maybe you've learned more about yourself. And then you can start putting into place some strategy. So that's how I did it with the transformation of my understanding around my business. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you didn't get into business to be miserable. The problem is that people feel that if their business gets busier, if they start becoming more successful, that happiness will eventually set in. But it can actually get worse. This is why I created the Business of Happiness Prosperity Coaching. In this one-on-one coaching, we look at how to redefine success on your terms and re-find the joy and the passion in your dream. Visit me at thebizofhappiness.com and become the happiest business owner you know. I just became very clear on what I didn't like so that I could choose what I did like. And I started taking ownership of my own reality. I get to choose. Let's go back to that food analogy. You get to choose. You get to choose what you eat. You get to choose what you order at a restaurant. You even get to choose if you're eating something someone else made or if you've made it. I mean, it's so cool to have the power in your life to be able to create your own reality, taking control of your own desired outcome. Feeling empowered and then being accountable for it. If you make something that doesn't taste delicious, you made it. If you make something that tastes phenomenally delicious, you made that too. So taking ownership of it is where the power sets in. That's a huge part of transformation. When you have the clarity of what you do want, now you can come in with the ownership of it. Especially for business owners, we have this amazing opportunity, but we don't always allow ourselves that ownership of the success. And the success is only what you deem successful, not what other people deem successful. We've established that already, that we can't live in somebody else's definition of success. But what does it look like for us? One of the things I recognized very quickly when I was creating this new vision of what an orthodontic practice would look like to me is I started tapping into what matters to me on a daily basis. It became very clear to me that I couldn't just live for the weekend. I couldn't just live for the vacations. Just having an income from my practice was not going to be of enough value for me to enjoy and appreciate every day. And if it is for you, power to you, that's amazing. I have definitely met people who say to me, the best part of my job is the paycheck. Awesome. Own it. Love it. Appreciate it. Don't beat yourself up because of that. If what you value most about your job is that it earns you freedom to go on vacation, it earns you freedom to purchase the things you need for your safety and security and comfort, that is amazing. Keep focusing on that, my friend, because that is where your happiness lies. Take the judgment out of it. For me, I knew I needed something beyond that. I needed daily fulfillment from my practice. So I started asking myself clarity around what that was. For me, it was quality time, presence in the moment, and it meant something very different from a strategic standpoint in terms of how I was going to establish my business model. If I was going to have time in my day, then I needed to put very specific boundaries around my schedule and institute a lot of support, hire a big team. That meant that I needed more help, not less. So creating that clarity around what matters is so important. Once again, we only get that from reflection, looking at what it was that we did and didn't like, what it was that did and didn't light ourselves up, and then taking ownership of the opportunity to choose something new. And that's where mindset comes in. The third part of it, adapting to a change of mindset and being able to be agile and welcome stumbling, welcome failure, welcome learning new things. Another big part of transformation. You know, the analogy of a butterfly having transformed from a caterpillar, it doesn't happen without discomfort. It doesn't happen without being, trapped inside that chrysalis, being trapped and possibly uncomfortable, restricted. There's moments where we have to learn how to break free. And those moments might be uncomfortable. But having a different mindset around it and seeing it as growth and learning and finding new tools in order to transform. And that's the third part of the transformation is the mindset around it. Recognizing those stumbling blocks as learning opportunities, recognizing the failures as new indicators of which direction to go. So I keep coming back to, what are my intentions? What are my goals? What is the clarity? And we have to sometimes hone in it more and more and more. So we don't always start with the answer. We start with the question. And then you start moving forward and think you're going in one direction, but life will let you know if you need to make a little left turn. And thank you for it. And then the final part of it, of transformation, is recognizing that you really are one of a kind, unique, incredible human being. You are exceptional. And I know everyone who's listening to this podcast, yeah, Tarryn, tell me more. I can't say this more emphatically. One of the biggest and most empowering steps of transformation in my life came when I recognized how unique I am. And I gift that to every single one of you because it is the truth. I have never met two people who are exactly alike. And I've never met someone who didn't have something so unique to offer that it was exceptional in some way or another. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how tall or short or fat or thin or smart or how much you struggle to learn. Every one of us is unique and has something enormously unique to offer in our world and to our community and to our families. And that's the truth. And the sooner you can wrap your head around that, the closer you can get to finding transformation that is true to you. Because it's possible to transform into something that's not you. That's very true. We have all done that. I mean, that's all of middle school is trying on different outfits to see where we belong. But the power happens when you recognize that you have your very own unique set of values. And this is why no one else can tell you what is best for you. No one else can share their idea of success and have it work for you. All we get to do is look at other people's definitions and pick and choose what works for us, what lights us up. And then keep asking ourselves the question, what is it? What is it that brings me so much joy? So we actually get to have a lifetime of transformation. And sometimes those transformations are big and sometimes they're really small. And every time, the power lies in understanding and recognizing the uniqueness that is you. So there you go. Clarity, which we can only find from data points of wins and losses, what feels good and what doesn't feel good, creating that clear vision and continuing to hone in on it, owning our responsibility and accountability for the reality of our own lives and of our businesses, having a mindset of empowerment and agility and being able to take what comes our way, and then finally, recognizing that each of us is unique and you have a one-of-a-kind superpower. Maybe multiple superpowers, but All I know is that you are wholly unique and you will never be like anyone else. And that is the magic about you. Well, as we go forward with this Christmas season, and as you take a moment during this busy time to give yourself permission to reflect on this year, I hope you can honor your goals and your dreams because that's a part of what makes you so unique. And the world is waiting with bated breath for you to deliver what is unique to you. Because that's what transformation is all about, is stepping closer and closer to our life's calling, to what's most important to us. And the one way to tap into that is to understand what matters most to you. Happy holidays, my friends. Enjoy this beautiful season. Let it illuminate for you what matters to you. And remember, when you feel good, that's when you can do good in this world. Bye-bye.